Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. Oh my gosh, I'm already laughing, and I haven't even introduced you to the guest today, who I'm ecstatic to introduce you to. And before I do, I always like to start off thanking all the listeners for everybody out there. And I love hearing the stories. The stories that flood in just blow my mind. The stories that people, this is your ritual, that you go on your morning run when you know the podcast is going to be released. Other people are telling me it's their lunch and learn. They pause at lunch to listen to this show. And families around the world that are listening to this show as a family. It truly blows my mind that we have now, because of this show, we have a family who's able to get help, and the right help, for one of the rarest forms of cancer, and that family's living in Russia, and all because of this show. So I believe, and I thank you, because if it's not for you, this show would not continue to be the mission that was on my heart. So as I celebrate today's guest, I just want to say thank you to all of you around the world. And today's guest, I'm excited about, because just getting to know her, and literally, you know how life is. You get introduced to people that people say, oh, you have to meet this person. So the amazing, beautiful filmmaker and founder of a filmmaking business for women, Sara Elizabeth Timmins. Sara, thank you for being with me today.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Well, you know, when I first figured out, when I was told what you do, I was like, oh my God, I have to know who this woman is. And so I am dying. It's better off for you to tell everybody, but I have to brag on you for a minute, because it's going on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but almost 10 years since you established Live Out Loud Films to create quality, inspiring films that truly make a positive difference and impact and champion women. And you have done films that are like taking real stories and bringing them to life. And I think that's why I fell in love with what you're doing, because I'm all about real stories that can make a difference. So enough about me talking about you. Tell us all about you and what you're currently doing. And then we'll go to the backstory. But we want to hear about your world right now.
Wow. Well, thank you. Life Out Loud Films. I can't believe it's going on 10 years for that company. But really, it was my response to my experiences. I feel that there needs to be more family-friendly content out there. I gravitate towards inspiring, feel-good stories that can make an impact. So our motto is, don't just make a film, make a difference. And also, my experience in Hollywood, I saw that there was a lack of representation of strong, confident females in front of the camera, and then also the female leadership and perspective behind the camera. So that is what led me to, I am a big person in my past. If it doesn't exist, create it. And that was something that I did. So I started Life Out Loud Films. We are on our fourth film now. And the past films, we did one that was on Hallmark with Jane Seymour. Chris Cooper played J.D. Salinger in the last one. We adapted a David Baldacci novel. And our newest, which I've been in the throes of for several years, it's my baby, is called Shoeless Wonders, and it was inspired by a true story that I heard of orphan boys in the 1920s that played football barefoot, and they went undefeated and unscored upon for 8 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I heard this story, and of course, my heart and gut immediately told me, you've got to make this film next. And that led me to the journey that I am on now. So it's an amazing story. We're in the final throes. Of course, we not only conceptualize the stories, but we raise the money for them. We take them through production, and then we're on board for both distribution and marketing. So I literally see a film from start to finish. But if you would have told me 3 years ago when I first heard this story how timely it would be now, I wouldn't have believed it. But, you know, it will be an entirely woman-helmed sports story
Really?
which has never been done to our knowledge, that's been released theatrically. So the writer, producers, and hopefully the director. So that's exciting. And then also there's the NFL, and we'll release at the 100th anniversary of the NFL. And we're working with them right now. And then on top of it, you know the state of women in our industry right now, and that kind of exploded at the end of the year. But also here's a story that our country needs. It's a story of boys that, despite all backgrounds and differences and belief systems, were able to come together and do the extraordinary. And I think that is such a timely story. You know, success is not determined by our circumstances. And I think it's very relatable.
I love the timing of this. You're right. 3 years ago or 4 years ago, right? I mean, honestly, Sara, and I think people more than ever right now, we're holding on, we're grasping for real human stories, because that's what's giving us hope. We're done with the pie in the sky and all these, you know, fictitious things. We want to hear about real people and real experiences that people have overcome adversity or powered through and achieved amazing things. And it's, to me, these are the hidden gems, the stories that just make you go, wow. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. So I have to ask you, how did you come across this story?
You know, I was working in Southwest Virginia, which is where I think we were just finishing up the David Baldacci film, Wish You Well. And somebody approached me and said that they had this amazing true story from the area that I needed to hear about. Now, Holly, I every day have people tell me that they have an amazing story that should be a film. And usually they're right. But it's all, again, about timing and the universe. And this all just kind of fell together that I had lunch with one of the executives it's still a working nonprofit. It was the Presbyterian Home for Orphans back in the day. And now it's a nonprofit called Humankind. So they shared their story with me. They actually, at the time, were looking for advice to try to pitch it to a Disney or ESPN. And when I expressed my interest and love for the story and how it's absolutely in line with everything I do, we talked about the advantages of working with a smaller company that's not going to go Hollywoodize it, but that actually still wants to honor the authentic history and the authentic story. And, you know, it's pretty easy from there.
Oh, well, I just love that. I can only imagine when you just said that, how many stories people hit you up with every day, right? It just made me smile. I'm like, oh, I can only imagine. Hey, I've got a great story. Hey, I know somebody with a great story. And you're like, here we go again.
Yeah. Well, you know, what's so funny is sometimes it's not even the story, though, that's pitched to you that is the story that you gravitate towards. I mean, I remember, you know, here's a company that I started to champion women in film, and I'm diving into a 1920s story about boys playing football. Like, where's the connect here? But I remember before I could really sign on, I dug and I felt that there had to be a female story. And we uncovered what is possibly one of the most exciting parts about the film is a mother that gave up her son and then to the orphanage, regretted it. So she went back and got a job as a house mother to watch him grow up. And that's the sub story. I know.
Oh, Sara, I'm covered in goosies. Are you serious? I didn't know this. Oh my
God. Yeah. Oh. So sometimes it's not about just uncovering the story that is topical, but it's really digging and finding out, like, what is it? You know, for this, it's not really a football story. It's a story about brotherhood and relationships and family. So, yeah, It's been an amazing journey.
Okay, so, you know, I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, my mouth is dropped and I'm like, I want to know how it ends, but I don't want you to burst the bubble of the story, right? Like, no, I'm like, that mother went back to literally watch her child grow up to be the housekeeper. That's amazing. That is amazing. Wow, this is going to be riveting, girlfriend. This is going to be riveting.
And you'll have to go see the film when it comes out so you can answer that question.
I know I'm not going to make you give it to me, but I'm sitting here and it's killing me. Well, as soon as we're done, and I know I mentioned to you, like I have a brother that's a film, a screenwriter and an actor and director, and I'm going to make sure to make a huge introduction when we hang up because the producers he's worked with and the people, they're all Karen Gillan. Does that name ring a bell? The actress? And she's an actress from Guardian of the Galaxies. She's done a lot of things. She just directed her first film. And you're starting to see women starting to step up and take those bigger roles. And she just had a lead in one of my brother's films. And the reason I'm bringing her up is I think it's women like you that are saying in this industry, I'm ready to take a stance. We need women filmmakers. We need women producers. It's not just as the actors, right? It's in all aspects of the industry, which is huge.
Well, and it trickles into other industries. I mean, I have a huge responsibility, as does every film producer, to make a very conscious choice as to what you're going to share with wider audiences. And when you look at little girls and boys and how they are impacted by the media that they consume, Gina Davis is really big on, we believe what we see. And little girls, if they're not seeing women in roles that are traditionally male held, if they're not seeing women that they can look up to, that's where they get their role models. So we need to see more women on screen that little girls can look up to, that little boys can learn to respect. And it's also presenting that female perspective. If you've got 7% of directors that are women, we represent a solid half of the population, and we need to kind of balance that out with the perspective and what we're seeing on screen. We owe it to the general public, not just our industry.
I totally agree. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, if we don't do it, it's a disservice to our world and to our country and to our youth and to all human beings. I so agree with you. What's fascinating to me is I want to take you back. So here we go on, you're the producer of other people's stories. I want to know, I know there has to be, at what point in your life, and maybe it was as a young girl yourself, or maybe it was as you were getting up into, higher education, but what was a pivotal moment for you in your life that you could look back on, that whether it was good or bad, right? Not all these pivotal moments are the yay, it was cotton candy and glitters. Sometimes it's the bad stuff, but it was pivotal in the becoming the person you are today. What would you reflect on?
Wow. I think that there was a moment that right out of college where I could have gone in one direction or the other. I took a job with a nonprofit that I loved, and I was responsible for promoting the arts to the youth and young professionals. And this particular organization, within a very short period of time, quadrupled their membership.
Oh.
And which was, it was a big deal at the time. And I remember my boss was excited. We went to the first board meeting with, lots of very respectable individuals with huge corporations and companies in this particular town. And when she announced to everybody what I had done and the accomplishments, which was huge for the company, I remember the chairman, who was a male, raised his hand and said to me, well, I have a question. Have we done any research to see how many of these new members are young boys?
Really?
And in that moment,
wow.
Yes, I remember thinking, wow, all my hard work, all my efforts, everything that I put in to that in one moment was completely discounted. And I have a choice. I have a choice that I can let that get me down and discourage me, or I could take it as an opportunity to embrace everything that I am and everything that I believe I can accomplish and all the possibility of the future and move forward. And that was pivotal to me, because I remember thinking, okay, this is real life, and there are going to be challenges simply because I am a female. And that had never presented itself at all and was never an issue at all in college until I kind of stepped into the real world. So that was definitely a pivotal moment, I think, as far as knowing that I was going to have to be strong and that there were going to be a lot of obstacles because of my gender.
Isn't it fascinating too? When you just told that story, you could remember, I guarantee you if I asked you, you would remember colors, smells, the entire boardroom and who was sitting where. Isn't it right? As you can go back to that moment and have like an almost photographic memory because it made such an imprint on you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And to think that that catapulted you into saying, okay, here's how I'm going to proceed in my life. And I love it when we have these, like, something as simple but profound as that moment and how that impacted you. And it's literally when you think about what you're doing with your life now. And I was thinking about how many people are going to listen to this, Sara, and no matter where they are in the world, especially for the young women that are listening and men too, and young boys, but what advice could you give to somebody if they're seeking and have a passion or a desire to maybe follow in your footsteps or to get into the industry somehow, if they have the right reasons? What advice do you give to people now that you've been in this so long?
I think you have to be, like anything, you have to be true to you. Because I remember so take all that. I never thought that I was going to be a movie producer. My love was, now, if you would have talked to my father, he would have disagreed. My love was acting. And that was the path that I was going to take. And there was an opportunity right out of college to, I started volunteering on a film because I wanted an opportunity to act. And Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, was involved in it. So it was like a big
Wonder
deal.
Woman.
Yeah. So of all people, actually, you know what? It's funny. I never made the connection until now, but literally the first professional film that I ever produced starred the one and only Wonder Woman. If that is not a sign, I don't know what it is.
Oh my gosh. All right. We're having a moment right now, my friend. I mean, seriously, you just put the dots together. The first film you were exposed to, Wonder Woman, and look at where we are today in this world.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. She actually signed cuffs. My parents had her. I did not know about this because I would make my own Wonder Woman cuffs and use toilet paper rolls and cover them in foil and run around the house. So they made those, and Linda actually signed to the other Wonder Woman, and they're framed. But I just never made that direct connection. That's so funny. Thank you.
Oh my God. I love this moment right now because before we started, I said to you, something really powerful is going to happen and my eyes will be closed most of the time.
Oh my gosh. Well, you probably opened it for a second going,
I did.
What?
I just went, what? But how cool is that? I mean, like right now in this very moment, you just got your affirmation. You're doing exactly what your soul's highest calling is. And you never set out to be a film producer. I love how this worked.
I didn't. And so I would really tell anyone getting started that, you are your greatest asset, because I'd never gone to film school. I had never looked at a book about film producing, but I just was sticking my typical nose in and, getting involved and asking to do things. And I remember that they were looking at the budget saying, okay, we can't raise this money or we're having problems. And I remember going, well, why don't you just start saving money? Like for me, it was like a big aha because I'd never gone to film school and didn't know how to do it. There were no rules. So I remember saying, why don't we get all these businessmen and women that are so excited and have them donate Sky Miles? And then we can eliminate that line item. Why don't I go to the Crowne Plaza and see if they'll donate rooms for our talent so we don't have to pay for them? We'll do a big marketing campaign since they just opened. And that was the way I went about things, not realizing that me doing it my way or bringing what I could bring to the table, which was not the typical way because I didn't go to film school, was actually a huge asset. And, months later, one of the producers went to go work on Seabiscuit, and the other two sat me in a room and said, we know you've never done this, but what would it take for you to quit your full-time job and produce this film? And Holly, that was it. That's how I got into producing, and I have not looked back.
Oh my gosh, I love this story. I knew there was an amazing story with you. Like it just gets better and better. So that moment is when you said, yes, it's time. Instead of being afraid of what that could look like, you just said yes to the opportunity and never looked back ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this story. Okay, what you just said, though, about how, hey, why don't we get with Delta and get Sky Miles? Why don't we go to the hotel and see if they'll donate rooms for the talent? I was blown away what I learned about the industry you're in, the heart and passion. We go sit in a movie theater and we watch a film. People do not realize, as we're drinking our Diet Cokes and having our popcorn and watching this film, about what goes in to bring that to life. Like what I learned watching my brother bring his first story ever to life, his screenplay, it was riveting what I observed and what I experienced, right? Like what you guys go through from getting the, it's a labor of love when people read a screenplay and go, I want to be a part of this. And you're trying to get amazing, talented people, from cameramen, right, to all the different things. And then having to get locations. And, I'm in awe of you, because I just want people to realize you get to be the beneficiary of watching the Hallmark Channel and seeing these amazing movies or going to the theater. But what you guys do to bring it to life, I believe there should be a documentary on that, Sara, because we don't realize, unless you've been closely involved, what that took. So there's an idea for a film. How about it?
I love it. I love it. Well, it's funny because my parents have obviously now seen a lot more of the film industry than they ever thought. And there are certain things now that they'll say, like, I don't want it to be ruined for me. Like, some of the movie magic is ruined because I've seen how you do that.
And you're like, no, don't worry. The magic is still there. Well, I have to ask you before we wrap this up, my love, what, I want to know what your proudest film is. And I don't mean, for you personally, and maybe it's the one you're working on now. Maybe it's one way in the beginning of your career. But what's your proudest film or proudest moment in making a film for you personally?
All of my films, they're like my children. So you probably didn't realize asking that question. It would be like me picking which of my children is my favorite. So,
okay, that's a fair answer. Okay.
So just to kind of frame that, but my favorite moment with every film is the moment that I am able to sit in an audience for the first time with an live audience, and to hear them react. As you said, it's a labor of love. And there's so much that goes in, and there's so many ups and downs that goes into making a film. Once you're actually able to get past that and see an audience laugh and cry, that's really the most rewarding. And that's why I do what I do. And to get the emails of people that have been impacted because of the stories that you've chosen to put on the screen. So.
Well, I'm in awe of you. I'm so grateful we have you in this world, because you're doing what I believe, if every person could find in their heart what lights their soul up to go make a difference, things happen and magic happens, and you get to impact lives, and you're doing it, Sara. And I would love to, just give you an opportunity, a couple things as we wrap this up. What, if people want to reach out to you, learn more about your films, learn more about Life Out Loud, how can they do that? And then what can we do to support you? Like, give me an ask. What can we do to support you as you're getting ready to go into the final lap of getting ready to begin production for Shoeless Wonders? Because I want this film out there. Now it's going to be killing me.
Thank you. Definitely lifeoutloudfilms.com is our general website. We have one for Shoeless Wonders as well, which is shoelesswondersthemovie.com. And then we also have Facebook pages and Instagram where you can follow specifically Shoeless Wonders to kind of see what the progress is. Our goal with Shoeless Wonders is to shoot it this fall. So as I mentioned, we're in the final stretch. Actually have to identify, we're 60% funded, and we need to identify the remaining amounts by June. And I believe with all my heart that that's going to happen, but it still does not mean that I am not leaving no stone unturned. And, so I would say that to have your viewers or anyone that's interested, just check out our website and our Facebook page. And if it resonates with you, spread the word, because the more people that know about this project, if adoption and foster care is close to your heart, or the positive life skills learned through team sports, then those are two of the big messages that we want to promote. And just share it, because you never know who you might share it with that might step up and be able to help us, finish out are raised. And of course, more people that know about it when the movie comes out is great as well. I mean, the Hall of Fame were just announced. They're one of our partners. We have some great sports organizations. We're talking to the NFL, some major brands as well. So the following and the people that are getting excited about the mission and the message behind the story, that's really what it's about. Let this film be a catalyst to further conversations about those issues and inspire people when they leave the theater to actually make a difference, make a change, and have a call to action.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. And I just love how, we get the word out there, you put it out to the universe, and things begin to happen. And I have no doubt, literally, I promise you, within an hour of us hanging up, I'm making an introduction to you, not only to my brother, but another film producer. And it's all about all coming together because there's a higher purpose here. And this message has to be shared. We have to hear this story. So thank you, Sara, for following your passion, for being my new friend, and for sharing your beautiful brilliance with everybody. I adore you. So thank you.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual.
Thank you, my friend. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and look forward to staying in touch and hear all the good news.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.